what we want to do is we want to spend about 5 minutes maximum on this particular tissue. And I encourage patients to do the same thing on a daily basis, maybe even twice a day. So what we want to do is look at the way the fascia is moving and the scar tissue is moving, and boy, there's just not a lot of movement going on here. Although it's a good looking scar, nothing's dark red or purple like that second scar. But so what we're going to want to do is unadhese by taking the tissue and torsioning it, or what we would call shearing, because we don't want adhesion to occur. And in this case, I really think this patient's scar is adhesed all the way down to the bone, so we've got a lot of work to do here. But the more mobilization we get at the skin and fascial layers, the more opportunity this patient has to heal quicker and get her mobility back. And a lot of research lately, and I'm just going to talk and continue to do some work, so this is something you can try. Most scar tissue work, we usually wait 3 weeks, and in this case we waited 5 weeks because we did have a lot of granulation tissue, a lot of, what a lot of people call scab, but we had a lot of filling in that, unfortunately, with the foot, you get a lot of sweating, and you don't really get optimum healing. Part of the reason why the surgeons have started to do scars on the top of the foot, the bottom of the foot just doesn't heal as quickly. There's a lot more sweat gland action going on, so the top of the foot is most ideal. But anyway, what you're looking at is a technique that is not a fascial release technique. It's not very painful. What we see is trying to mobilize the tissue in an angled way. Some people do fascial techniques that involve approximating the tissue. You can see that works just great. That's a brilliant way to get the adhesions from the bottom up. So I'm just going to show you a bunch of different ways to work this scar. A lot of people would consider this an advanced technique, and while I agree, I think the most important thing to hear, so wake up, right? If you're kind of drifting off, listen. The most important thing to remember with scar work is that you've got to wait 3 weeks, and if you know your inflammatory response cycle, if you don't, look it up, but what happens at 3 weeks is the fibroblasts, which are the cells that are responsible for producing collagen, that heals this tissue, that lines this tissue in a haphazard way, to be honest. In the first 3 weeks, we get a lot of laying down of fibroblasts laying down collagen, and collagen is most abundant structural protein we have, but collagen is a relatively organized protein that is laid down in a very unorganized or haphazard way. And if we have haphazard organization, we don't get optimum tissue movement. So after 3 weeks, and again, I told you this is a 5-week post-op scar because it's not always indicated to go in at 3 weeks. When I say go in, I mean really modify the tissue. I am really modifying the tissue to the point of trying to break down the excessive cross-links that have occurred between the fibroblast cells, or ultimately the collagen. We're trying to get this tissue normalized, and this is the way to do it. This is a very easy manual therapy technique. Scar tissue release, some people would call it. I would say that touch in general in this area, I am being rather, I am modifying the tissue rather substantially, and the patient isn't really feeling all that much pain. And, it's important to touch because we do now know that fascia as a connective tissue, and really just in the last couple of years we found that that fascia has nociceptors, which are pain receptors, and they're also fascia is considered a sensory organ. We used to think it was just the skin, it was just the muscles, and fascia has really found its way into our research journals and have this revived view of what fascia does for us. And so we're really shooting here, and this was, it's been about 5 minutes, so I'll probably start to wrap it up, but what we're shooting to do is unadhese the excessive collagen that has formed because this was an open surgical site at one point. This was a place where we've cut through skin and fascia, and we want that mobility again, really looking to get that mobility. So what a lot of manual therapists will say is that shearing, taking the edges, and I'm approximating at the same time as I'm shearing. So that's a really easy thing to do. And again, I'm leaving this guy alone. I'm not all that happy with the way it looks. I don't want my two ends to split and cause that area to open up again, because then we're going to have to go back through that inflammatory response cycle again, and the body's going to have to lay down more fiberglass and ultimately more collagen. But you can do some approximation. You don't want to completely ignore it, but you don't want to pull it apart. You don't want to go in that direction. But you can totally do it on this one. And we're about time here. If you look at the beginning of the video and the end of the video, you'll notice there's a lot of red, whether that's considered blood supply, whether that's considered, now we've created a little bit of an inflammatory response, and that's my work for now. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot.